Hi there, I'm Professor Velasquez. I hope you're in the right class. I teach ASL at Sam Houston State University. I'm very excited to teach you guys this summer. I'm looking forward to working with each of you. You're going to learn about deafness, deaf culture, about American Sign Language, and why all of these things are important. So I'm going to share some of those things with you. I can tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Mexico, but I grew up in San Antonio, moved when I was very young, until I graduated high school, and then I went to Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. And again, I went to Gallaudet University for my bachelor's at a later time. Then I went to Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas, and I've been teaching here for 6 years now. This is my 6th year. I don't have an entirely deaf family. I do have members, my sister, cousin, a few who are deaf, and everybody signs, all my brothers and sisters. My parents do not, though. They use home gestures to communicate with me. I grew up there in Mexico, and they grew up there, in Mexico, and that's just a part of who they are. Please read this. So I want to be clear, you need a C or better in order to pass this class. A D or an F would not be acceptable to pass this class, so prepare yourself. One very critical portion of things that I want to go over with you is tone. When you're speaking as hearing people and you're using your voice, you're using intonation and tone when you're talking, of course. It shows emotion, affect, happiness, upset, just feeling okay, anger. Tone is critical to identifying how a person is feeling. So, in American Sign Language, you may have heard that you should focus on hands and the hand movements and the gesturing communication. But that's not the case. You need tone. The hands are important, but the face is also important. The movement and motions of the mouth are very important. Body language is very important. If you just are learning the signs themselves, you're going to end up not passing this class. You need to use your face and your expressions on your face. You'll be doing video vlogging, and watch how deaf people sign in those vlogs and how their facial expressions match their signs. You can't just look at the hands. So you need to see the whole person. That is everything that makes up sign language, including the facial expressions, mouth movements, body language. So deaf people will be able to watch you and identify how you're feeling too from your tone. Now, if you did something like this, typically, and this is typical of ASL students, my name is Ovi. I live in Houston. I graduated high school in 2013. And if there's no facial expression to show how you feel, you're not going to pass the class. It's, my name is Ovi, and I live in Houston, and I graduated in 2013. You don't need to overemphasize your mouth, meaning you don't have to pronounce the word. I live in Houston. You can just keep the mouth small, but it does have to move. And no voice needs to be used when you're signing. You turn your voice off. My name is Ovi. I live in Houston. I graduated in 2013. And you'll be good to go. Keep your mouth small but moving. You can't just sit there with no facial expression. You'll end up with an automatic and fail, and you'll be graded specifically on that. ASL focuses on the entire being. And you may think that there's different rules or it's easier for an American Sign Language, but that's not the case. It's just like Spanish or French or any other language. Maybe you've read Harry Potter, And in your reading from a book, that's the English language. It's all being punctuated in English because that's written English. When you go to see the movie, for example, Harry Potter, what you're seeing is a representation of ASL because there's movement and action and story towards it. So I just want you to understand that difference between written English and American Sign Language. All right, so today is the first day. So deaf versus hearing, you're going to be happy that you're a part of this class. Your attitude is really going to change because you're going to understand aspects of deaf culture. You're going to understand the rules and foundations associated with it. So let me go back a little bit. It used to be that hearing people didn't realize or didn't recognize that way in the past, for example, Thomas Edison, the inventor of electricity, he was deaf, and he helped all of us have electricity now. The Girl Scouts founder, she was deaf, helping individuals become good citizens. The phone came from Alexander Graham Bell. Now, he was hearing, but the reason that he invented the phone was for his deaf wife, for her to be able to communicate. So it was not made for hearing people. It was actually made for deaf people to communicate. The huddle, for example, in football, used to be that you would have deaf teams and hearing teams that played games together, and they had a really good time doing that. But what would happen is the hearing people got ideas about what was being said in sign language by the other team and were guessing at their plays. So they decided to create the huddle in order for them to sign in a hidden way. And that's done all the way to this day. This was something started by deaf individuals. Dummy Hoy, famous and incredible baseball player. And he's the one that came up with all of the hand shapes. And those, I don't know all of the codes for the hand shapes, but he helped hearing people and baseball players to be able to communicate, to know what pitches to throw. This is done all the way to this day. These codes are used in baseball, but it started with this individual, this deaf individual. Cell phones. Cell phones in the 90s became very popular. Wireless communication. Deaf people wanted that same access as hearing people could, and so they invented in 94 texting in order to communicate with each other. Devices to text. And this was stolen from them, this idea. It was taken from deaf people. It wasn't made for hearing people. It was made for deaf individuals. Also, websites. How we code them, http://. This was a deaf individual, Vint was his name, I've forgotten now, Clinton. Anyway, he was deaf and he created the address for the websites. Without him, we may not have something like Google. There are so many deaf individuals in history that have given us so many things. Many things. So deaf people have brought that to the hearing world and have been dismissed by hearing people, unfortunately, or looked down on by hearing people. And they were nothing more than innocent parties. Now, resources, if you see that bullet point, look in Blackboard. It's really important that you watch the video that's started, when you first open Blackboard, you'll see a whole list of information. And at the very bottom, there's all kinds of videos and photos. You can see them talk about "I'm sorry," and I think that you'll get a real good idea about that. Please do not say "I'm sorry" to deaf individuals. That's such an insult. I mean, would you rather people say, oh, you don't know sign language? Oh, I'm sorry. How would that make you feel? Is it okay to make deaf people feel that way? It's not. We're all the same. Labeling people. Oh, she's deaf. Sometimes I've seen me be labeled as deaf, and I've told professors they are hearing, and they looked at me, who I called their hearing, and I said, well, you're labeling me as deaf. I'll label you as a hearing individual. How does that feel? Is it okay to label deaf people and we're not allowed to label people as hearing? It's not okay. We should be all in the same boat. Now, when it comes to email and making phone calls to me, I really prefer people to call me. You do not have to know sign language. There's an interpreting agency once you call my number, and if you look on the syllabus, you'll see there my phone number. You can call me directly, and I will give you extra credit for that. Email is okay, and I like email. The thing about email that's a little bit negative is that you're emailing back and forth, having to clarify with each other to make sure. If you're able to just call me, successful communication is readily available to you. You just call. Now, I don't need you calling about every single class, but if you have questions about tests or exams, that's fine. If you have questions about sign language or certain signs, you need a tutor for something like that. There's actually ASL resources under Blackboard that I have there where interpreters can be paid or tutors can work with you for free. Yes, I believe you do need that. Blackboard, I very much encourage you to be married to Blackboard and married to your email, because I send out emails and I'll know who hasn't read or who hasn't checked. Because if you try to tell me, oh, I wasn't aware of it, I can see whether you've opened the email or not, and I have proof then on my side. So, try me if you're going to try to make an excuse. I have proof on my end. So I'd encourage you to be married to your email, married to your Blackboard, and check it often. And if you need clarification, then just call me and I'll be happy to explain it in depth. Now, as far as the requirements are concerned, textbooks are obviously required. For ASL 1, let me just grab it here. You have this book, Signing Naturally, and it's got the green cover. For ASL 2, it's a purple cover. And let me tell you a little bit about this, and I'll show it to you. In fact, I can clarify a big difference. When we're talking about quizzes and you needing to know what to study, that's only the written material that you would read. That's this section here, another section here, where you can read written content. That's where the quizzes are derived from. Now, for tests, you're going to look at vocabulary in the books, actual vocabulary. So you'll see pictures of vocabulary within the pages of the publication, of the textbook. You can see more here, some over here. These are examples, and those are vocabulary, and I've already signed those in videos, and you'll be able to watch them. And you can watch them only. You don't need the videos. It's all in the video. So just click on the unit and then the video for the unit, and you can just watch it produced in American Sign Language. You can watch it over and over again. Remember, not focused on the hands, but the entire being, the face, body language, and mouth movements. The books for hearing people only, let me show you real quick. Right here we have these two versions. There's volume 1 for ASL 1, and then volume 2 is for ASL 2. For those, you don't have any quizzes on those or tests on those. That information will not be on the final what those are for is for your ASL lab. And you might be thinking, what is an ASL lab? Well, in fact, for ASL 1 and 2, there's 4 credits that are given. And for ASL 3 and 4, you get 3 credits. And you might be thinking, well, why is it less credits? It's because ASL 3 and 4 are required to go to contact events where they have to spend time talking with deaf people and write a paper on it. They can't write back and forth. They can't just fingerspell. They have to use full American Sign Language. For 1 and 2, they're still in a very early stage of learning. So you'll learn about deaf culture in Volume 1 of For Hearing People Only, for deaf people and their needs. So that's what I'm here to teach you. In Blackboard, you can find the column for the ASL lab and you can pull up that information. And when those are due is in the syllabus. So you can see the schedule due in the syllabus and just follow it there. If you follow the due dates, you're going to be fine. If you don't follow the due dates, you're going to drown. It'll just become too overwhelming for you, and I really can't help at that point. I can't put my hand down in the water and save you. So make sure that you're aware when the due dates are for all of the points, ASL lab, the discussion board, tests, exams, quizzes. Now, these books for hearing people only, when you look at the homework portions of it, like question number 1 will have a page number, so you find that in the book, and then you put the answer there from that page. If it says source, and that means for a quiz, what I would expect you is to find through research the information somewhere else. And then let me know where you found that answer. I need to be aware of that information. If you just put it in and without a source, or put a page number or an answer from the book without a source, always send me it in Microsoft Word. Please don't use PDFs because I use the word count in Microsoft Word. Always have your name, and that's all you need, a name, a date, and name, date, professor, and all those classes. I really don't need that. Just your name is sufficient, and then the homework so I can get the word count. If there is no name, I will throw out the test because I have to print all these things out, and if there's just no name, then what am I supposed to do with it? I can't go chasing around each student. You're responsible for making sure that you have your name and your homework filled out using Microsoft Word. So make sure to train yourself having your name and then the actual assignment. And if there is no name, there's nothing I can do at this point. There's too many students to check on everyone. All right. Go React, you do need to purchase that for your tests and for your projects. You need to buy it. The great thing about Go React is that you use sign language and record yourself, and you can send it to me, and then I can respond in sign language and give you appropriate feedback with suggestions for you to improve in your ability to use this language. You can make adjustments at that point. I can't meet you online. I can't meet you in person. This is an online class, so through Go React, I can send you feedback that way. If you're thinking, oh no, I can just use YouTube and send it as an attachment, that's not acceptable to me, and you'll get not a passing grade. You'll get a 0. If you say, oh, I don't have the money for Go React, it's a required element. Financial aid, they can support you in it if you need at the bookstore. So that's good news. Also, make sure to not use your lap or a bed for recording. We use our eyes as deaf people. You guys can just hear and not pay attention to the video, but if I have to watch it and there's movement on a bed and I can't see or catch your facial expressions, you're going to get a 0, a non-passing grade. Or on your lap, you'll get a 0. If anything is moving around, you need to have it stabilized on a table or some sort of nice background like this. Just one color. It could be white, just one color though for the background. I think that that's better. I'll be able to see your face. It won't be too far away, and you won't be too close. So don't do either one. Getting really close in here, then you don't know if you can be seen, and you might be getting a little bit frustrated. It's too much of a waste of time, so you're going to get a 0. Just make sure that you're nicely framed, and it's in the middle of your waist, not up at your shoulders. Because if that's the case, then I'm only seeing your head, and I can't see your hands, and I don't know how I'm supposed to grade you at that point. So then you would obviously get a 0. So make sure that your camera is far enough away from you to where you can see everything. Remember, you need to be able to see everything, including the head, body, and mouth. So you can't be signing up here, my name is Ovi, etc. No, put your arms down. Just relax. Okay? It's important to move your lips, not act like they're sewn together. If they're not moving, then you're going to get a 0. Now, I also don't want a phone to be used in portrait mode. That's unacceptable to me because it limits the sign space, so make sure that your phone is in landscape mode when you're doing this. If you're in portrait mode, then that's going to be too difficult. Also, when in Go React, you're ready to take a test and you've pressed start, and if you try to read the quizzes and then study and then come back, you'll find that it's too late because it is only set for 20 minutes. So once you start the exam, it's an automatic 20 minutes. Past 20 minutes, if you say, okay, no, I'll just attach a video file and that'll be sufficient, I'm going to give you a 0 at that point. That's not an again, attachments are not acceptable, video attachments, because I know people then go away, they cheat by studying. Also, I'm trying to remember, this was an important point. But regardless, I just want to make sure that once you start, you just go ahead. And don't get overly nervous. You just do what you're doing, watch the videos, and then sign appropriately. Okay? In Go React, we're using it when we use it only 4 times. Excuse me, that's when. And then in ASL 1, there's actually not even a project. It's just test number 1, test number 2, and the final exam. For ASL 2, you have all 4 assignments in Go React. ASL 1 does not have the project portion, though. The expectations, I can tell you a little bit. I've already told you, I want you to be married to Blackboard. Also, the syllabus is there, your class schedule is there. I suggest that you print your class schedule so then you won't be drowning. In ASL 1 and 2, I'll tell you a story. I have, 4 credits, remember? So the first one is the ASL lab, and then you get 3 more. Social events is as well for ASL 3 and 4, so that doesn't have to be worried about. You can look in your units in Blackboard. All of your units are there, and you just open them, and then it tells you what to study for that particular unit. It tells you what your homework is right under the unit as well. Also, it has tutors available that you can contact that information, and I encourage you to do that. They think, oh, I don't. Some people think you don't need an ASL tutor, but okay, go ahead and try. They'll realize later, like, oh my gosh, I absolutely needed a tutor. Something else, a discussion. The discussion board is a very important aspect of this. There's 4 assignments. There'll be a question there, and you have to do some research, and then you have to type a 100-word or more, I think it's 100 words, yes, and post a response. That's only 70% of your grade though. So where's the other 30%? Because the other students, as they're posting from their research, I need you to read and make comments on their posts. And you need 3 comments from replies to other students. And those count as 10 each. And so you'll end up with 100% of your grade. If you just do one response from the video or right there in Blackboard, then you're just going to get the 70%. Why that might be important for this discussion is because some of that information will be on the final exams, and it'll be so much easier if you've read all of the information from other students. If you feel like you don't want to do research and posts and just want to make comments or reply comments, you'll only get 10 each for those, and that's only a few points. You want your, if you want the total of 100, you want your 70 points plus your 10 points. It can't be something easy like me too, using the number 2, or I agree, or sure. Those kind of responses are unacceptable. It needs to be a comment about what you learned. The Respondus monitor lockdown is something that is used for quizzes and quizzes and tests both. So when you start the video, you can't have your books and everything with you. It's already being monitored. We can see if you're checking in books, and then we'll let the dean know that you've cheated at that point. So as soon as you start the video, just go ahead and answer it. I think you have 20 minutes, like I said, to answer on video. You're being recorded. You just show your ID, and then you just start answering the questions. Okay? And they'll video everything that you're doing, and that'll be proof that you did it on your own. For the quiz and the tests and the final exams, that all applies. The pre and post tests, that's actually for the fall and spring semester, so that won't apply here in the summer. For GoReact, you need to use Chrome. There's going to be less issues if you use Chrome as your web browser. Also for projects, that's only for ASL 2. You have a background project, and I'll send you what you need to study for that, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Grades, I'm always posting them because I want you to be able to see how you're doing and to have an opportunity to get better as you progress. There are these extra credit opportunities. So when these are, is that if you get some homework, and if you send in the test early, a few days in advance, you'll get extra credit for that. If you send it the day that it's due, there's no extra credit for that. Because if I get all of these papers last minute, it's much more difficult for me. There's more time for me if you send it in early. I can really check on what the work that's been done. So here's other opportunities. Now the post-test, we don't have those. That's the only thing we don't have. And then the contact event one. So if you'd like to go for an extra 15 credits, added to your final exam, then go take the opportunity to spend time with deaf people, deaf adults, and have conversations with them, learn from them. Huntsville, Houston, Dallas, there's deaf events all over the place. So please don't use a religious setting where you're just sitting there watching something. Like, oh, this is such pretty sign language. There's no responsive communication from you that way. I want you to sit with a deaf person and have a conversation that counts towards it. You can't just sit there in church for an hour and just say, oh, I watched an interpreter for an hour. You need to spend an hour and a half with a deaf person. So how you do the assignment exactly is in Blackboard. It explains it all there, the ASL social portion of things. And it'll tell you everything that would be required and the expectations associated with it. So for today's class, for ASL You need to write why you're taking the ASL class. You'll start there, and it'll be right there. There's questions for you to guide you through it. The pre-introduction. For both ASL 1 and 2, you have the syllabus quiz. And why that's important is because in America these days, people don't read the syllabus. To me, I doubt that it's very much done, just a small percentage of students. So how can I get you to be on board with this? Is that if you read the syllabus and watch the video and you answer some questions associated with it, then I know you've done this and read it, and I'll add 10 extra credits to your final exam, which is fantastic. People have done it almost every semester. I get a lot of response from it, and then they understand what's expected in an ASL class because they've read it. So I see a lot of people who have read it. And why do I have you send me a quiz? Because really that's essentially your signature, so I know that you have already read and watched the video. The pre-test portion of things, that doesn't apply for summer courses. That's only fall and spring. Okay, keep in mind, get some tutoring. The ASL Club, now I don't know if they have it in the summer, but there is an ASL Club. Go React. There's the quizzes, the tests, the projects, the final exams, and please do not, it's unacceptable if you send me your videos as an attachment. If you open it up, close it, and then try to study for the exam, it shows when you've logged in and when you've logged out, and they will let me know, and then you'll get a 0. I suggest please do not do that. Just open your Go React tests and just start taking the test. If you are on video and you're using your bed or your lap with movement, please never do. Please don't do it one-handed from your phone. So if there are any questions, you please let me know. You can email me, you can call me. I look forward to working with you. I know that you guys are going to enjoy and learn so much from this. Please don't be overwhelmed by all of this information at all. Once the first day is over with, you'll find that it's really not that big of a deal. And it really depends on your motivation. If you have no motivation, there's not much I can do about that. Maybe you can go take a Spanish class, go take a German class, go take another French, whatever foreign language classes are out there. If you have any questions, you give me a call or you email me. Thank you, and you have a fantastic summer.